Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, will the Brooklyn Nets be the next dynasty in the NBA? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, we have our Dreamerspro Max online sports community. It's a place where you can go and start basketball discussions and discussions on other sports as well. You can chat live during games. We do that pretty much every other night, it seems like. Consume original content that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, and so many other cool things. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check it out. We have it linked in the description below and get 7 days of free access. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy that, so be sure to check that out. Anyway, let me get into the topic here. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. So going into this season, right, we all felt that the Nets were going to be good, given the fact that they had Kevin Durant and they had Kyrie Irving. Now, obviously, there was a question mark around KD because given the fact he hadn't played basketball for over what, a year, I think it was. Last time we saw him in the NBA Finals where he tore his Achilles, playing against the Toronto Raptors. I believe it was in Game 6, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the last time we saw KD, and there were going to be some questions around his health. But we all thought that KD, if he was at least 80% of who he was, the Brooklyn Nets would be good enough to be contenders, at least in the Eastern Conference. And they started off very well, to be honest with you. They started off, and it looked like him and Kyrie Irving had some synergy together, although Kyrie, I thought, was being a little bit too selfish early in the season with the way he was playing. He seemed to be too transfixed on scoring and getting his buckets, and there were some times where I saw him just kind of like overlook KD and just try to score and get his points, forgetting the fact that KD is better than him. And he's always, whatever team KD plays on, he's going to be the number one option. He's the best option offensively. That's why you see those other guys taking a step back when he's on the court, because he's the best offensive player. But I think early in the season it looked like Kyrie thought he was that guy, which to me I thought was a bit absurd. Then KD came back and we looked at him and he looked pretty good. Right, he looked pretty good early in the season. I was kind of like, okay, is he really going to be himself? But then after 5, 6, 7, 10 games, it looked like the Kevin Durant of old, and he looked sensational. If I look at Kevin Durant's numbers this season so far, I mean, Kevin Durant has just been he's KD, right? Getting you 29 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, shooting 52% from the field, 43% from the three-point line, 87% from the free throw line, and also getting you 1.4 blocks per game. So that's Kevin Durant, right? What are you going to say with the dude? He's KD, and I don't think anyone here is surprised by these numbers because he's the best player that we have in the NBA as far as offense, and I think he's better than James Harden, to be quite honest with you, because KD has to do a lot less to score. James Harden has to do a lot of dribbling and all of that stuff. So if you have to ask me, who would you rather have, both players healthy, I think all of us would take Kevin Durant, unless you're just maybe a James Harden fan. And Kyrie Irving was doing his thing too. Kyrie Irving was putting up some great numbers, or is putting up some great stats. He's another nuclear offensive player. He's averaging 27.6 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, 5.8 assists. But what's even more impressive than that is his efficiency. He like KD, he's shooting 52% from the field, 41.5% from the three, and 88% from the free throw line, getting you 1.1 steals. So listen, these two, we could stop right here. Like literally, we could stop right here. It's actually insane when you think about it. But given the fact that these guys were playing well, there was an issue. At one point, Kyrie Irving decided that he was going through some things and he didn't want to play basketball at that point. He left the team, and I think he went to go do some other things. I don't know if it was maybe some of the social issues that were bothering him. I don't know what it was, but Kyrie Irving stepped away from the game. And let me just say this quickly, now that we're talking about Kyrie Irving, regarding him stepping away. Early in the season, I didn't understand why he did that. Because when he did decide to leave, he didn't really give a clear explanation as to why. When he came back, he was a bit standoffish. He was a bit defensive when people asked him questions, which was kind of made me wonder, okay, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think you were just going to walk away and then no one was going to ask you any questions? So that part was kind of befuddling to me. But then listening to him and seeing how other guys who say they're for the cause but this and this and this and this, but you realize it's just a bunch of hot air. Most of these guys are not really for the cause. I think it's something that sounds good to say, like, yeah, power to this, but there are very few guys that are really actually willing to walk the walk, because a lot of guys can talk the talk, but Kyrie Irving looked like he was willing to walk the walk. And I think now, after spending some time really understanding where he was coming from, he was dead serious. And given the fact that he wasn't doing it for us, like it wasn't a stunt or anything, like he was really processing some deep issues to him. I have a lot of respect for him, because for him to be willing to give away his, because listen, a lot of guys talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. When it's time to maybe donate, or like some people say, we're for the cause. Okay, are you willing to stop play? Are you willing to stop playing? Are you willing to give up your salary? Then all of a sudden everybody runs back to the, oh no, we're for the cause, right? Just think of All-Star Weekend. I spoke about that earlier. I'm just going to digress momentarily. I spoke about that during All-Star Weekend. Players like Paul George and others said it was completely stupid to play the games, right? Because now I don't know if they were referring to the fact that it was a dumb idea to play the games because of COVID, or if it was a dumb idea to play the games because of the social issues in the climate in the country. I don't know if those are the two issues. Now, if it was a bad idea because of COVID, then why play games now? Did COVID disappear? Is COVID somewhere on the moon? No, COVID is still around. So if the issue was going to the All-Star game because of COVID, then you make no sense, because then why play games at all? So it had nothing to do with COVID. Let's just safely say that it had nothing to do with COVID. Now, so, well, you're putting all these players together, so maybe the probability. Come on, stop. They were in the Orlando bubble. There were 16 teams in the Orlando bubble. There were more players in the Orlando bubble than they were at the All-Star game. Let's cut that out. So it has nothing to do with COVID. And if it has nothing to do with COVID, and you're saying, well, we didn't want to be there because of the social issues. Again, so if you didn't want to be there because of the time in the country and, the unrest in the country, then why play the games? I think a lot of these guys are hypocrites. I think a lot of them can give a lot of lip service. A lot of them give a lot of lip service. Kyrie was the only guy, it seems to me, that was literally willing to give it up. Like, I don't need to play basketball anymore. So when I understood that, after All-Star Weekend, I figured out that a lot of these guys, the majority of them are just full of hot air. A lot of these guys that y'all are looking up to and saying, oh, these guys are for the cause and da-da-da-da-da. Trust me, 95% of them are not for the cause. It sounds nice. It all sounds wonderful. Kyrie looked like the only guy that was actually willing to take the next step and give it all up. He looked like the only guy that was serious about it. And some players were talking about, we don't like the All-Star. When you sit down and listen to what they were saying, you quickly realize they're just saying a bunch of rubbish. But again, a lot of people are driven by their emotion, and a lot of people are fans. And once you become a fan, it's hard for you to peel through the nonsense that a lot of these guys were saying. And to me, now looking at it, I think Kyrie Irving was one of the very few that was willing to actually walk away from basketball, right? My thing is, just don't be a hypocrite. Don't say you're going to do this and do that and do that, but at the same time, you're willing to get your money, but then act like as if you're being forced to get your money when you guys collectively bargained for it to go play the season because you don't want to forfeit your money. Don't play the game of, it's unfair and they're doing this to us and the owners are making, what do you mean the owners are making you do this? What are you talking about? No one is pointing a gun to your head and saying, go out there and play. No one is doing that. You're doing that all on your own. No one is forcing these guys to play basketball. You are choosing to play basketball. Stop blaming it on the owners. That is a coward's way of going out. You don't want to take any responsibility for your decision. It's always somebody else's fault. Oh, the owners are forced. What are you talking about? The owners are forcing you. The owners are there too. Ballmer's coming to these games too. Stop blaming other people for decisions you're making. Own up to the fact that you wanted to play the NBA season because you wanted to make your money. Period. End of story. Don't blame it on COVID. If it was for COVID, then there's no good reason to even have a season at all. And I kind of I'm going off on a tangent here, but I think it's something that's important to be said because a lot of these guys are hypocrites. right? A lot of people like to complain about the circumstances that they put themselves in and point fingers. That's one of the signs of immaturity. When you're always pointing fingers at somebody else, it's never your fault. It's always the next person's fault. That's a clear-cut sign of immaturity. Give you guys one quick example. A number of years back, my dad came to visit me when I was in New York, and we went to, I don't know, was it like a, like one of these food joints in Times Square, and we're at the place making an order, and this girl has a terrible attitude about, just taking our order, and he looks at the girl, and he goes to her. He say, "Listen, if you're acting like this, you're acting like as if somebody forced you to work here. Why, if you have this attitude, if you hate your job, why are you acting like as if somebody's forced you to work? You're there because you want the money. You need that. You're working at that job because you want the money. So please stop giving me an attitude. It is the same thing. If you know that the reason you're doing all of this is for money, then don't start telling us about, oh, it's for the political cause, and it's for the cause, and it's for the justice. If it's for the cause, stop playing. Stop. Ali was willing to give away his body. Now, obviously, Ali wasn't perfect, but at least he was willing to go that extra mile. So just to touch on Kyrie, I know I was hard on him. I was wrong. Let me just say that now. I was wrong about him, and a lot of these guys were just giving lip service. Anyway, back to the topic. Sorry, I digress. I'm just going to get through this very quickly. With the addition of James Harden, the Brooklyn Nets went to another level, and now they have a big three that on any given night are averaging somewhere around 80 points per game. There's no team in the NBA that can say that they have that. There's no team. No team in the NBA has a big three, not a big two, a big three that's averaging around 80 points. Just take Kyrie, and these guys are averaging around 80 points per game. You can't see these dudes. So offensively, they're in another universe. That's why a lot of people have them picked to come out of the East. There's no team in the NBA that can stop this team. The only thing that can hamper this team is their health. Is if KD doesn't show up or something like that, right? And that's why a lot of people are giving them the edge to make it out of the Eastern Conference. And to be quite honest with you, if the Brooklyn Nets go to the NBA title championship, there's no team I'm going to put ahead of them. They're going to be the favorites in my opinion because their offense is just too potent. You're not gonna guard the Brooklyn Nets. There's no if that's your plan. Oh, we're gonna guard them. That ain't happening. If your hope is that one of them are going to be off, again, that's a very bad hope to have. If you're going into this thing hoping, you're already in trouble. Because, guys, these two, let's say KD doesn't play. They're still good enough to cook you. They've beaten everybody. They beat the Clippers with KD, without KD. They beat the Lakers with KD. Without KD. So listen, you're not stopping this team. You're not beating them offensively. So, and if they get on a run and they win a title and they get the taste in their mouth and they get that taste, good luck stopping this team. Because they have a very good chance to become the next NBA dynasty. And I think all of these guys are under 30 years old. Kyrie Irving is 28 years old. James Harden is 31. And Kevin Durant must be 32, right? 32, but they're still young. They're still in their prime. And they still got Kyrie. So to me, I think this is the team that has a very good chance to become the next NBA dynasty. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think the Brooklyn Nets have a chance to become the next NBA dynasty? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode.